Hello there friends, welcome back to another episode of Generation Tech. My name is Alan. Being a bounty hunter seems like a very glorious profession. That's why you got thousands of bright-eyed kids like Toro Calican running around the Outer Rim with a blaster. May forever serve as a warning to those who come ill-equipped to what is one of the most dangerous professions in the galaxy. When Mando Bra wasn't getting the blue shadow virus from sketchy alien accountants, he had to deal with some truly vicious and dangerous individuals. And although he's been victorious up until now, every one of these hunts takes a heavy toll on his body and spirit. Today we'll be taking a look at some of the most difficult bounties one can get as a hunter in the Star Wars galaxy. I love Han Solo. His lack of allegiance and care for things ultimately hides a very compassionate individual who will always do the right thing by his friends and family, and ultimately even the galaxy. What makes him even more impressive is how he survived his rough upbringing as a street urchin on Corellia, where kindness usually dies along with innocence and good hygiene. It's also what makes him a very scary individual. I mean, most of us think of Han Solo as a charming, good-natured, and slightly goofy individual. But to his enemy, he is a monstrosity. Like, imagine being this guy who Han Solo could have just ran by peacefully, but no, Han Solo punches him in the face and then throws him inside of a Raktar. No open casket funeral for him. Or this poor stormtrooper who Han Solo shoots with the Star Wars equivalent of an anti-material rifle. I'm not gonna say war crime because I'm pretty sure most rebels and resistance fighters were unlawful combatants anyway. But if you take away that positive bias most of us have about Han Solo, what's left is a terrifying killer who's extremely lucky. To most stormtroopers, it probably seems like he's protected by some unseen, powerful cosmic energy that surrounds us. And no, I'm not talking about the Force, I'm talking about plot armor. Han Solo has also gunned down his fair share of bounty hunters. He's sent Greedo packing with a preemptive blaster bolt to the gut, and even the fearsome Boba Fett was no match for him when he was half blind and still suffering from carbonite sickness. And that's only Han Solo naked and alone, without his darling Millennium Falcon, one of the most dangerous light freighters in the galaxy. He probably took out an entire wing of TIE fighters throughout the Galactic Civil War. Probably more, actually. The moral of the story is don't hunt Solo. It's a bad idea. When Toro Calican took on that contract to take out Fennec Shand, he was way over his head. All he took on his little adventure to capture one of the deadliest assassins in the galaxy was a hand blaster, binocs, and a speeder bike. Just about enough gear for him to spot Fennec Shand's muzzle flash before she shoots him in the face. Fennec Shand was a master marksman. She commonly used sniper blaster rifles, marksman rifles to provide overwatch in firefights. She was also an expert in close-quarter combat and hand-to-hand combat. She's one of the few individuals who could actually defeat Cad Bane up close and personal. Even Boba Fett and the Jedi struggled in overcoming this legendary Duros hunter. As someone who's used to being the hunter rather than the prey, beware of Fennec Shand because he's most likely already walked in your shoes many times. The only reason why Toro Calican even got close to Fennec Shand was because of Djarin, who just happened to be in the system looking for some work. Djarin is a skilled combatant. He's a well-rounded fighter, but he doesn't really excel in anything except for one thing, and that is his armor. It's a full suit of Beskar plate, and he could pretty much take on any blaster bolt that gets fired at it. In the first season of The Mandalorian, Djarin is constantly being hunted by members of the Bounty Hunting Guild, and even the Imperial Remnant itself. And although Djarin is often taken by surprise, his armor usually allows him to absorb the first few dozen blows so that he can regroup and start fighting back. Which of course, you should never give him a chance to, because once Mando Bro goes on the offensive, depending on his mood, he might unleash every weapon on his armor, which is a lot. Best way to deal with someone like Mando Bro is using a detonator or a concussion grenade. The Beskar probably won't be able to stop the shockwave from an explosion as easily. Mandalorians in general are not easy to hunt, and Boba Fett, while not as heavily armored as Djarin, is no exception. He's more of an offensive beast. His preferred style of attack is slow, heavy, and methodical, and usually punctuated by occasional explosions. Most importantly, his movements are efficient and waste very little energy. And now that he's retired as a lone bounty hunter, it also means that he has more resources and friends guarding him. Even when Black Chrysanthemum managed to surprise Boba Fett in his bacta tank one night in his palace, he would still survive the incident thanks to his growing army of minions. It's hard enough to grab a bounty, let alone a bounty surrounded by loyal individuals willing to sacrifice their lives to protect it. Which was always Boba Fett's plan, I guess. Inside of that old, grizzled former bounty hunter is a little boy who just misses clone dad and wants a family of his own. There's a reason why I like individuals like Han Solo. In a world of magical wizards and magicians, Han has always achieved miracles through sheer optimism, confidence in oneself, a little luck, but no special powers. Equally as competent and dangerous is Rebel Alliance normie Wedge Antilles, a former Imperial pilot who defected to the rebellion prior to the Battle of Yavin. He'd be one of the few survivors that make it back after the destruction of the Death Star. He would survive many of the major battles of the Galactic Civil War, including the big ones, Hoth, Endor, and Jakku. He famously delivered the killing shot to the reactor on the second Death Star. He also was active in paramilitary activities during the liberation of Kashyyyk, which he officially was reprimanded for. Most individuals with Wedge Antilles' huge amounts of battlefield and leadership experience would eventually end up in command positions far away from the front. The fact that Wedge Antilles would continue to lead small units as a junior officer on the front of the Galactic Civil War shows us exactly what kind of person he is. It also shows us just how skilled he is to have survived so many battles. Wedge Antilles, as one of the top aces in the Rebel Alliance Starfighter Corps, had a massive bounty placed on him by Imperial officials. Post-Order 66, several Jedi managed to survive and escape the clone army and the Empire that followed it. These individuals would be enemy number one and targeted by the Emperor's Inquisitors, and also specially licensed Jedi hunters, who are essentially bounty hunters who are specialized in taking down Jedi. Now, many of the Jedi who survived Order 66 were either very removed from the front lines, like Librarian Jocasta Nu, or young Padawan learners whose masters protected them, like Cal Kestis and Caleb Dume. Of course, we also have dangerous individuals like Ahsoka Tano or Eth Koth, who both left the Jedi before the war, but even then a young Jedi is not to be meddled with, for they have the Force at their disposal, and the Force can be a fearsome tool of destruction and cannot be countered by conventional means. I highly recommend that all of you bounty hunters out there looking for an easy score, avoid Jedi, even the younglings. It's not worth it. The Empire dedicates quite a lot of resources to this pursuit. Let them handle it. That's what your tax dollars are paying for. Lastly, we have the deadliest bounty of them all, the bounty for Darth Vader. Who would place a bounty on someone like Darth Vader? Well, that's pretty obvious. The Dark Lord has done quite a lot of damage across the galaxy, and he's made many enemies. The Rebel Alliance and many criminal syndicates had numerous bounties on the Emperor and his enforcer, and also due to the very Sith-like culture of the Empire, the close circle of individuals that advised Palpatine were also constantly fighting against each other in order to gain more power in the government. And so Sly Moore, a high-level bureaucrat working under Palpatine, put out a bounty on Darth Vader, and even supplied IG-88 with a transponder that could lock up Vader's armor so that he couldn't move. And even with all those resources on its side, IG-88 was still incapable of taking out Vader. The Hidden Hand also hired Brelart Valance and several other bounty hunters who seemed to have a personal vendetta against Vader. Unfortunately, like everyone else before them, Vader always came out on top, but not before sustaining significant damage. So there you have it, guys. 7 reasons why you probably shouldn't be a bounty hunter unless you're ready to face some of the most dangerous individuals in the galaxy. Don't come unprepared, or else you'll end up like Toro Caligan. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. My name is Alan, and remember, my allegiance is to the Republic, to democracy.